Hello and welcome, guys. Today, it's a magical night for a moon dance. Moonglow, beautiful Florida landscape, waterscape, moonscape. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Deliberately Creative. I'm Stephanie and I'm here to welcome you to a fun, magical moonglow type picture. This is day 16 of Acrylic April, and that's a 30-day challenge started by Cinnamon Cooney. I figured halfway through the month, I better say that again. The Art Sherpa started this challenge, and anybody can participate. If you're interested, click on the information down below. I believe I've got the link for acrylicapril.com down there. If I don't, it's acrylicapril.com. Go check it out. I am going to be doing this fun, very monochromatic, meaning really one color, blue, white, and black. And we are doing this with the Turner Acrylic Gouache because I like that soft, velvety type of look. It does not have that white chalkiness to it. This is just very matte and very, very night sky velvety. Hey guys, I'm so happy that folks are showing up. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Remember, all the information is down below in the more information box on supplies, the watercolor paper that I'm using, the paints, other paints, brushes, whatever. It's all down there. And ways to support my channel also. Patreon, Skillshare, and, you know, even just subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and leave comments. That is a really good way to help my channel out. And if you are so inclined, put my channel into your daily rotation. I'm doing daily videos Monday through Friday, 9:15 a.m. on Mondays and 12:15 p.m. on Tuesday through Friday, and that is all in Pacific Daylight Time. All right, so let's get started. I took a charcoal pencil. This is a General's Charcoal White. And I actually rubbed it on the back of the photograph, just in the areas that I knew I wanted to transfer. I coated the background with sky blue or cobalt blue. I just used cobalt blue for the background and let it dry overnight. Now, this made it so that the paper was nice and flat, no buckling. And I like that for this type of a painting because we're wanting to get a nice, smooth, no ripple type of effect. Then I took and laid this down on top of the dry paint, completely dry. The next day dry, actually. And I used a pencil. Wherever my pencil went, I just used a pencil and I drew right around all of the areas I wanted to transfer. So then I ended up with this lovely little chalky drawing. Excuse me, my nose is itching. I'm going to have to put that away, and I will wash my hands, don't worry. But otherwise I was going to sneeze at you all. We don't want that to happen. So here we are, and I am going to go ahead and start working in the farthest background. Well, what's the farthest away in this picture? The farthest away thing is the moon, so we need to get the moon in. I am so excited to see you guys all here. So I am actually putting out a nice little plop of white, putting the caps back on, a nice plop of black, and I will probably put more black out because this is a real silhouette type painting after we get that farthest away stuff put in. Yes, the white charcoal pencil is General's is the brand. It is the 558. And the thing with the white charcoal pencil is that you need to make sure that your background is completely dry so that you don't indent into the paint and leave charcoal or chalk. It's the same thing as a chalk pencil. When you do it, transferring it from a drawing and you lay on top of it, when you transfer, don't press really hard. It's going to move the charcoal from your paper to the paint really nicely. Hello, hello. Thank you guys. And thank you, Katie. Katie is one of my patrons over on Patreon. So I'm giving Katie a nice little shout out here. Thank you. And if Joan is here, I know Joan's one of my patrons. There she is. So I have a Patreon, and it is a way to support my studio and help me buy paint and paper and things like that. Thank you. All right. So what I'm going to do first is get that moon in. We're going to zoom in. Let's see. Let's try it from this view. Ooh. That's a little bit dark, but that's okay. I am taking the 3/8 inch flat brush. I loaded it up with paint, and you see how it's got a nice little chisel edge to it there. Nicely loaded with paint. Now, you don't need a ton, but the thing about that is by laying it down, whoops, I'm going to have to rotate my canvas so I can get to it better. Laying it down, my moon is going to grow a little bit, and I'm pivoting on a corner, one side and then the other, and if it's not totally round, that's okay. There's going to be clouds going over this, so we're not too worried. Then I'm going to brush out that center just a little bit. Just like that, to take the spiral out of the center. And now we have a moon. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and get my first layer of dark put in. Now, the darker color is going to be the Prussian blue. There will be a little bit of white added to my Prussian blue. Sorry about reaching across the camera. There's going to be a little bit of white added to the Prussian blue. Let's go back to this view. There we go. So that we can actually see it. So I'm taking just a touch of white into my Prussian blue. We're going to test that. Up here around by the tree, and around where the sky is, going to be showing the glow. I want a little bit of a darker color. Here, let's take that little social card off of there for now. Come on, there it is. By taking that white, we can actually see it. There, maybe a little bit more dark. I'm trying to not be too precious with this. So we're feeling like spring. Oh my gosh. Today, sitting in my front room, looking out the front windows, we're having pink snowstorm right now. There's a big flowering cherry that's across the street from us. And with an east wind blowing, it just looks like pink snow. Now I'm just working this down. I could use a bigger brush, but by doing it this way, it keeps a little bit streaky, a little bit more glowy. Sometimes going on the edge of the brush. And then in the areas where I know it's going to be much darker, coming back on the flat. Going ahead and getting it wetter, getting more of that Prussian blue into it. And I think I'm probably going to put a few stars down in here also. I'm not going to worry about them right this second. Now the Prussian blue is dark, but it is not as dark as the black. So I can make it go right in over the top of some of these areas of where that tree is. There we go. I want to get this a little bit more solid. towards the very back. There's a little, right along the horizon line, there's going to be like a small mountain or peninsula or something like that that's out there. Picking up more of that Prussian blue. I really want to get that glow going in there. Work our way forward. And yeah, right now it looks a little bit streaky. That's okay. We're okay with that. I think just because I want to do it a little bit faster, I'm going to actually take my big brush and the Prussian blue, because we have a lot of dark right down here. And then right along in the water down here, there's more dark paint, more dark color. There we go. There's going to be a lot of nice white highlight. That's how you see the silhouette of the, I don't know if it's a crane or a heron. It's something. I guess you have herons and cranes in Florida. This was taken in Sarasota, Florida by an artist photographer on Unsplash. Let's see. I want to get this in here and get a little bit wet right along that edge, because I want to take a bit of white and blue. So I need that to be a little bit more wet. Actually, we're just going to, boom, do that right up against the tree. I'm not too worried about going over the moon because there's going to be some clouds. We can choose where those clouds go. There. It's interesting working on it on a slant like this instead of straight up in front of me. I get a bit of a glare. Yeah, you can use acrylic paint. You can use regular gouache. You can use the acrylic gouache. It all works. You could even do this with watercolor if you mask out the moon and mask out the area around the heron. It's kind of thinking in a backwards way to acrylic, though, when you work with watercolor. Just get that water down in there. And there's water over on the other side here too. So I'm just sort of filling in up under the tree, into that background. I love that with the gouache, you get a matte finish. With acrylics, you have sometimes it can be very matte, but most of the time acrylic is semi-gloss or really glossy. Okay. Not too worried about that edge. Want to make sure I've got water behind. Keeping it a little bit streaky down here where the water is. And up in the sky right now it's a little streaky. I'm going to take my white and blue, and we're going to start wiggling in bit of a cloud bank underneath. This is the shadow going across the moon right there. The shadow of the clouds. See, look at that. That just brings it right up. I just put white onto my dirty brush. And take a little bit of extra white. We've got some of that glow showing up. You've got that dark in there. We are taking a bit more white into that cloud. See? And remember that we have the moon is actually above the clouds, so shadows are still underneath. Even though it feels like the clouds are below the moon, well, the clouds are below the moon. I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. But the highlights are above and the shadows are underneath. So that's what I was trying to say. Sometimes you just don't know how to say things. All right, so now we've got that bit of cloud put in. I'm going to take this blue-white that's on my brush and maybe come over and mix it with more of the blue. Over here, I'm going to do just a few little streakies. This is not bright, but it's just giving us a bit of a transition between the bright moon and the dark blue of the water. Just dance that along. You don't have to be a slave to the reference. Make it feel the way it makes you feel. Make it feel the way it makes you feel. This is actually kind of a magical moon glow, nighttime. Few of those skies coming through. You love painting the moon? Yeah. I don't paint a lot of the moon. I'm going to go back in and soften up in a few spots just with a wet brush. Just because that makes me feel better about this. I want it to be a little more glowy. There we go. A little bit more of that shadow underneath of the cloud. Just softening it up that way. And then down here in the water, I want to soften these out just a smidge too. The paint's not dry yet, so you can soften your lines. And the tracing that I did of the heron is actually staying pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to take a bit more of the dark on here now. And just put some of that in also. So we have layers of color. Layers of light and dark. It's how you see things. It's all layers of light and dark. Highlights and shadows. If something is completely dark in a dark room, you can't see it. But now we're starting to see this, aren't we? There's a little bit of some darker blue sort of tucking in closer to the heron. Heron or crane, could be a crane. Like I said, I don't know Florida. I've actually never been to Florida. But this photographer had been. So I'm going with what they found. And then there's a bit of a shadow in the water of the heron with the reflection. So that's pretty cool. What do you guys think? You enjoying this so far? We'll give you, I know you've got the reference up there, but here's what I'm looking at. So we're getting it worked in. I kind of want get a little bit of some separation up in here. And then try to not have it be quite so streaky. It's still streaky. That's okay. It can be a little bit because there's like clouds in the distance. There's going to be a few lighter spots in the tree, so I'll just take a little bit of this blue that's dark, but not as dark as the black. There we go. And in my mind, I have that Magical Moon Dance song running through my head. Anybody else know that song? I won't sing it because I don't want to get a chance of being demonetized because I sang a song. 'Cause I don't know how that works. But you can sing it. It's really funny. We've got some squirrels that are hiding things on our front porch. And I think one of them is trying to hide some nuts right outside my window. I keep hearing a thump, thump, thump sound. Could be the wind blowing also. We've got quite a wind going. Reflections, you know, this type of a reflection is not as tricky as some because the water is moving. The reflection is moving also. And it's interesting how the reflection of the moon is actually wider and narrows as it comes forward, and then it's narrow and it kind of widens out as it goes away. That's interesting to me because it's not like the sun path. When you have a reflection of the sun, it is, boom, as wide as, you know, I'm going to go with the smaller brush. Go with the smaller brush. Yes, Gina, that is exactly the song I'm thinking. So I'm taking a little bit of that Prussian blue over that super bright white in the background because that was just a little bit too white. This highlight starts out and you want to get most of it worked in with a softer blue than you think because the highlight is blue. And I'm working it back and forth, kind of scrubbing it in. There's going to be some brighter highlights in here. But to start off with, you want to just get that softer layer of color in. The super bright highlight that outlines the bird, I will use an even smaller brush. It gets a little bit fiddly. Let's see here. Let's see if we do it this way. That's a little bit better. So right now, we're still in that working back and forth stage. And that's okay. Let's work it back and forth. We're still working forward. The water is farther behind everything. The water is farther behind the bird here. So we need to get that worked in. So, oh, yes, and by the light of the silvery moon. So we have a magical moon dance by the light of the silvery moon. There we go. Now this is kind of dry on this brush right now. Just trying to get that lighter color in there and still allow some of the darker colors to come through. This is a dance. going back and forth. And that's the cool thing here also, is that you can work it back and forth. You don't have to say, oh gosh, I got that too bright, or oh, that's not bright enough. You don't have to worry about that, because you can come back in with a dark color and see, put in some dark back here. I got a little bit excited there, pulled that dark way over to the left. Doesn't need to be quite so bright. Now the white does have a bit of a chalky appearance to it, and that's okay. That's, you know, it's still white. And once you've got it all in here with those highlights, it does start to sparkle. Sorry, is my hand in the way? No, it looks like it's okay. Cool. So I'm just, you know, this painting might take you longer. It's deceptively going to take you longer than you... Oh, well, there's Moonlight Sonata, which is a classical piece. I'm not sure who did it, but I know that Moonlight Sonata is a classical piece. This is just straight Prussian blue going in, because again, I got that side a little bit too light. And this is where it's kind of starting to funnel down and become narrower, so I need that to not be quite so bright. There we are. No, actually it is titanium white. It is PW6 titanium white. I have the autofocus turned off, so it's not going to be perfectly in focus. I have it focused on the painting. But with gouache and with acrylic paint, if you have darker colors underneath and you work in thinner layers, you can actually get it to thin down some. It's not going to ever be as transparent as a titanium or as a zinc white. There. That's making me happier. Yeah. Yep. Google the song. Google the song. All right. So that's drying on that side. I got it too bright over here, so we're going to bring a little bit of black into my Prussian blue, I think, now. Really get that side over there darkened up a bit. Keep your water as level as you can, you know. If your hand pulls down a little bit, just know that your hand is doing it. So that's why you'll see me going back and forth and adjusting. So let's get more of that highlight going down here. So we've got dark going along behind his legs. So get that going. We've got a little bit of dark closer here. It's a much darker at the back. So let's just get that. Much darker at the back. So you work in layers as you're going, and you work at refining as you go also. So now that I've got everything blue, or pretty much blue and white, I'm now going in and saying, well, what part is darker blue? What part is lighter blue? Where do I have more highlights bouncing? Where do I not have highlights? So all the way in the very back there. I think I'm going to go ahead and get my little mountain, peninsula, whatever it is. Get that black on my brush, and we're going to come along And it's got a little bit of an up and down to it, but not a lot. And then make it a little more solid across the bottom. And it's going off into that tree, so we don't have to worry about. You know, you're not limited. You can try different things. And if something works, that's awesome. And if something doesn't work, you learn something from the things that don't work. I am now going to take my round brush. This is just a number 2 round by Ruby Silver brush. It's a number 2 round. And I'm going to take the white. There's a little bit of blue on that white. That's okay. And get my brightest white in here. Just dabbing it in and letting it sort of streak across. But I need it to be really close to the heron, to the crane, whatever this little guy is. Down here between his legs is really, really bright. Under his tail. Near his chest. But I'm working these little dabs sideways, level with the ground. You see how we're starting to get it worked in there so that we have something for the back of the bird, or the body of the bird, to show up against. And then over the top of his little head, there's some more. Neat thing here is that these birds are very simply built. So you could completely wipe him out if you wanted to. But I know that a lot of people want to put something in, like putting in the drawing and then working around it. So I'm trying to do this the way a lot of my viewers like to paint. But the easier way to do this would be to just put all your white in and then put the bird right on top. But I know a lot of people don't want to have to draw and put the bird back in, or put the bird in to begin with by drawing. They'd rather just trace it. That's good. That's okay. You learn something from each way you do it. But see, we're starting to get that little guy showing in. And then down here, we've got some little ripples. I'm letting my brush be a little bit dry as I'm working my way down, because the water is kind of breaking up. There. Just let it dance in. You don't have to be super specific right here. This is a reflection of her, this is just a reflection. And it's floating away. There's a little bit breaking over the edge here. Fun little things. And if you pick up extra paint on your brush that you weren't intending, I wasn't intending on picking up any black right then, but I accidentally bumped the plop of black on my table, on my palette. So and this is not actually pure white. There's a little bit of blue in this right now. Okay. Now, right now, my little bird looks a little bit skinny. We're going to go ahead and get his body put in with the black now, I think. Just want to put a little bit more loosely drawn along the back now. And you're trying to draw. Excellent, excellent. Well, as I'm putting the bird in, I will explain how he's built. So I'm going to take just the black on my round number 2. And this little guy, he has a ball for his head, just a round ball. Let's see if we can get a better angle. Let's go close up this way, and then we will zoom in. So hold on for a second, guys, as I zoom in as much as I can. All right, that's about as good as I can do, and it's going to feel a little bit out of focus. But that's, just sort of the way it is. Then his body has this, like a giant seed, actually. Looks like a big popcorn kernel. See how his body is like a popcorn kernel. It's sort of long and skinny though, so I need to maybe make it a little bit longer. There. All right. Then, from the back of his head down to his body is like a letter S. See how quick that goes in? Boom. Then you pull out from the front of his ball of his head. And we draw his legs on. So now I need to get the paint not quite as thick. Oh, it's all a matter of proportion, and you learn by doing. So if it's something that's really important to you to learn how to do, you practice drawing it. Now his legs are actually very thin, so I need to make sure that my paint is not too heavy. He's got very thin legs, so he has one leg that just comes straight down, and one leg that sort of comes straight down and then kicks forward just a bit. Just like that. And he looks a little funny out there in the middle of his nowhere land. The front of his letter S on his neck comes forward a little more. Refine. Just refine. Find the lines. There. That makes me feel like he's a little more balanced. I'm going to go ahead and use my big brush and put in the black for the landmass that he's standing on. So this is the number 1 Simply Simmons flat wash. We're going to come like this and go boom, bitty boom, bitty boom, bitty boom. And then work it down and then back up a little. We'll get that more dark. I had a lot of water in my brush. This black is super, super velvety when it's a solid black and it's all dry. It is very opaque, and it's almost like we did a painting on velvet. When you do black for the background with this paint, it is so cool. Oh my goodness. Now, I do need to get his little shadow area down here. I'm just going to use the corner of my brush that's got the black in it and I'm just going to dance it back and forth because this is broken in water. There's a little bit of that blue showing through. There's a bit of this black over here. Just darker water. Just try and keep it level. And it's much darker over here, so I'm just using the paint on the brush, you know. Why wash it all out in the water jar? Use some of it. I think the other edge of my brush might have a bit more of the black, maybe. I just picked up a little bit more black, so I can tap back and forth. Now I can work some more white back in because that grew quite a bit. We're getting really close to being done. I think I want to go ahead and put the tree in. Now I'm putting the tree in very loosely, and then around the edges, I'm just letting it fall off the edge. I'm not going to worry about making this, you know, perfect little leaves or anything like that. We've got things sticking up and things coming forward, and I'm going to bring that way up high. I think I'm going to bring that all the way up. Leave some holes in there. Oops, sorry. Just realized that in that zoomed in state, you weren't seeing the top of the tree. I am sorry. Let's zoom that back out. Yeah, I'm doing the zoom by just resizing my window. There we go. So I want this to come forward a little bit more. Like that. Because I am making the tree grow a little higher. I'm just letting some of those little dots hang out there without any branch or anything like that. Let's get this really dark coming down. It actually comes down pretty deep into the water area here. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you're new here, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to turn on your notifications so that you'll be notified when new videos go up. I am doing new videos every Monday through Friday for the month of April. There's kind of like a little bush or something right there. Make it up as you go along. I wanted something a little bit more. Wow. Yeah, see? Doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't have to be perfectly solid black here in the silhouette of the tree. You've got light, you've got shadow. All right. And this whole painting is being done with just 4 colors. The background was done with the cobalt blue. Where did that cobalt blue go? Oh, there it is. The background was done first with the cobalt blue, and then we had Prussian blue, black, and white. And this is acrylic gouache. We're not quite done yet, but I just wanted to fill anybody in that hadn't been here. We're going to take that flat brush, the 3/8 inch flat brush that came with the Turner acrylic gouache as a try-it set. I did get my set off of Jerry's Artorama, but they did not send it to me. I bought it with my own money. I'm having a little birdectomy here. I'm getting that shadow reduced down just a bit. Let me see. So yeah, I buy pretty much most of my supplies. The only things lately that I haven't been buying has been the Arteza materials, because they have been sending me things for reviews. But, you know, they're not actual sponsors. So the paper I'm using is the Arteza 140 pound. I want to put a bit more black down here in the bird. Just didn't get quite that feeling that I wanted. There we go. I think we're gonna zoom out, pull the tape off. Ooh, sign it first. Sign it first. I think I'm gonna take the white and Prussian blue and get myself a little bit of a signing color. It's darker than the darkest, or darker than the lightest color, lighter than the darkest color. Let's see if that... So it's very subtle. It's going to dry a little bit darker. Maybe we'll lighten up that S. We'll lighten it up just a bit. It was almost exactly the same tone as the background. There we go. Just a little bit lighter. Except that now that I signed it, I do want to soften a little bit of that black and white edge right there. Looked a little bit too sharp. There. Get some of that shadow. Sometimes you see something after you think you're done, and you don't have to worry about it, because you can go back and fix it. All right. So now we're going to zoom out and we're going to see what it looks like when we take the tape off. All right, this tape has been used for a couple paintings now. That's why you've got multiple colors on it. I may or may not be using it again. Let's see, bottom. Some of the tape has not been having as strong of a seal. So I can take some of that white and just paint it right along. Looks like I had a little bit of something dark in that paint, maybe. White gouache, being opaque, white, it ends up, look at that, how we can clean up those edges. It ends up looking like the paper because it's opaque and matte. So we'll go ahead and take that off the rest of the way. Boom, bitty, boom, bitty, boom. Okay, this one really makes me happy, guys. I hope that it makes you happy also. Remember to share your paintings with me on Facebook, on Instagram. You can share your paintings on Pinterest. And you can share my videos on Pinterest and on Facebook also. Thank you. Remember that I'm here Monday through Friday for the month of April, and I want to see you back here again really soon. Take care of yourself so you can take care of those around you, and do something creative. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.